If I told you at the beginning of the year that Jalen Hurts would be a Pro Bowl alternate, probably going to the game, and he would put his team in the playoffs, and you have 3 first-round draft choices going into the April draft this year. I mean, if you're Howie Roseman, you've got to be sitting here looking over at your owner going, I told you so.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
No doubt about it. I mean, a lot of people second guess and them drafting them in the second round.
Welcome back. National Football Show, Dan Sileo. Huge crowd here today. We really appreciate all of you guys jumping aboard with us. And it is a pretty miraculous turnaround on what we saw from the beginning of the year to where we are today, where you, because of the Minnesota Vikings losing to the Packers last night, you now are a playoff team. It's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. But maybe we should have seen this because remember something, brand new staff, brand new coordinators. It took a couple weeks to settle the waters. And since week 8, this has been a completely different football team. All right, guys, do me a favor. Please hit the like button. We bring in our friend from Fox 29, our friend Garry Cobb. And Gary, you and I probably should have saw this at the beginning. We knew that there was going to be a transition. It happened at the beginning of the year. All the quirky things that Sirianni was going through, the coordinators, the players not being all on the same page. You know what? They hit week 8, and they've really never looked back. But for you, what's been the biggest turnaround for this team from that 2-5 start?
I guess it was I kind of remember the game where Miles Sanders broke out. They really marched and they scored. It's a game they didn't win. I'm trying to remember which but they didn't win the game, but they did march down for a couple scores, and they wound up coming up a little short. But you saw the running game and the capability of that running game, because that's really what changed I think the season around, is once they got behind those big guys up front and they really started relying on their running game. And they weren't throwing the ball as much, because early in the season, they didn't even give Miles Sanders was their top rusher, giving him the ball, 6 and 7 times a game, which is unheard of, especially when you look at them, when you got a young quarterback. See, that's the thing, is when you have a young quarterback. And I think, in fairness to Nick, he's learning on the job. He's never been head coach before, and he's never had been in charge of where you got this young quarterback. You are the head coach. And what are you going to do? And being honest, even though you were a wide receiver coach, hey, the strength of your team is not throwing the ball. That's not the strength of your team. And I think the thing he did is he also won over a lot of the players, because he showed some humility. Now, it can get tough in Philly as a head coach. He didn't start pointing fingers at the players. He took responsibility. And that was a big thing. And I think he won over a lot of the guys where they said, you know what? We can follow this guy. We believe in him, because, he's not pointing a finger. And I think the whole team was really looking for answers. And they started seeing it. The strength of the football team was that offensive line, and they started letting those guys really lean. They leaned on them, and they started pounding the ball. And then that opened up the passing game. I think it also helped out the defense. And defensively, they took a while to kind of really find themselves. And I think at times they're still finding themselves, because they come out in the first half and they're kind of playing that straight up zone, and they're not really getting after the other team's passer. And I think they changed. And what they've got to do is they've got to be able to start out the game hotter. You can't spot people 10, 14 points. Good teams, you cannot spot them. Now, if they play Tampa, you give Brady and those guys 14, 21 points, you're done. They're going to start running the ball. They're going to start eating up the clock, and you look up and the game is over. So cannot start out slow. You got to start out fast. And so it's going to be interesting to see. They're still developing, but they really have made a lot of progress. And so you got to give Nick Sirianni a lot of credit in that he didn't panic when things weren't going well. Now, I've seen a lot of coaches. Hey, Chip Kelly came in here and started pointing the finger because he had never been in a place this hot, meaning like from a media standpoint, it gets hot in Philly. You got to be able to withstand the assault. And then you've got to be able to say, hey, look, we're going to stay together, fellas. We're going to stay together. I don't care what anybody outside this room says. We are going to fight together. We're going to stay together. And we're not going to start pointing fingers. And he's the one that did that. He led the way with that. So I give Nick a lot of credit. He's the one that really was the guy that started things. And then once they started having a little success, it just kind of built. I mean, because they were very close. They could very easily have won 8 of those games rather than 7 of them. I mean, when you think about, that lost that Giant game. But it's going to be interesting. But, I got to give them a lot of credit. They really came out of nowhere because I surely didn't see them in the playoffs, early in the season. No way. Halfway through, playoffs, what?
Right,
but
2-5.
And they got a game to play.
Right, 2-5, and then all of a sudden now you're 7-2 over the last 9 ball games here, and I think it was the Raider game that you were referencing.
Yeah, I think it was that Raider game. You're right. They lost
early
the
on
game,
in the year. But you know what, Gary? I think the 2 things that you broached there a little bit, patience that he had, so easy. How many times do you hear a coach do this? When shit starts going sideways, hey, man, look, we got to get the players in the right direction. It's code for you're sucking. It's not us. He never did that. And again, we talked about this a little bit last week. I thought that Fletcher Cox coming out and Fletcher saying early on, hey, we got to all get on the same page. And Fletcher wasn't a jackass about it. He could have started really getting into people about, hey, the scheme doesn't fit. He didn't. It was vague. And they were both vague. But to your point, they all listened. And I think that's why, and the reason that they're where they are right now, because they're all rowing in the same boat. Is that fair?
I think that you hit it on the head. I think that's a lot of it because when you look at this team and the fact that you've got guys that, hey, have won it all. These guys won the Super Bowl. So they could have got arrogant. I mean, you take a guy like Jason Kelsey, he and Fletcher. I mean, why could they take shots at the coach? They're going like, hey, we're Pro Bowlers. We won a Super Bowl. And so, but they didn't. You didn't have that on the team. They kept it together, and really defensively, even though they still got a ways to go. I do like some of the things they're doing defensively. They get in that 5-man front.
Yeah,
where you got to single block them. And I think they did that because after talking to Fletcher, I think that Jonathan Gannon, that's one of the moves he's made. They stay in that 5-man front a lot. And what that does is that forces the offensive line to block them one-on-one. And so Fletcher's getting the one-on-one block, see, because he was getting double teamed so much. And they tend to get to the passer when they get in that 5-man front. They haven't had so much in the way of sacks, but they pressure the quarterback. You had the turnovers last week where they forced, and they also got some big sacks this week where they were able to get Heineke in some key situations. In the second half, they really just shut down Washington, and a lot of it was because of that 5-man front. They get down there. It's not a bear look, but it's similar to the bear look, but they don't have the 3 guys inside, but they got 5 men, which force those offensive linemen. If there's a weak guy in there, then he's exposed because now he's got a single block, and they end up, getting to the passer when they get in that, and they've had a lot of success with that. And I see that they usually get in that, it's been doing a lot of it in the second half, but they've had a lot of success with that. With, Josh Sweat got some sacks this week off of it. You had Jannard Avery had that big sack and they were in that 5-man front. Because usually, see, he comes in the game as the 5th defensive lineman. He gets at one of the ends, and they've had a lot of success out of that. And, that's listening to the players because, Fletcher was getting tired of the double team. He's getting double teamed all the time. And so he was tired of it. So that's why he went.
He's tired of you linebackers getting all the credit and all the tackles. He wanted to start making some things happen.
That's right. Javon Hargrave, yeah, he of course, he got off to such a fast start this year. It looked like he was going to get up in the the high teens with sacks wise, but he cooled off. But the 5-man front, I think we're going to see that. But what they've got to do is they got to do a better job of playing zone. Their zone defense is just too soft. See, you have to play man within the zone. You don't just play zone. It's just like in basketball, good defenses, they play zone. Even in college, when they play zone, they play a matchup zone. They don't just play zone where you just standing over there covering air. No, when a guy is in your area, you got to get on him. While he's in your area, he is your man. Because a good quarterback, if you're just standing there by him, he's standing there next, he's going to throw the ball to him. And then you can sit there and watch him. Well, I watched him catch the ball. No, you got to be in a position where you can knock it down on the way there. So you got to be all over him. And they've got to get a better mentality of understanding of that, or they got to just play man because their zone is too soft. Come on. They had Heineke looking like he was, like he was Brady. Come on. In the first half, Heineke was completing everything.
You bring the point up here, and I was tweeting this out. I'm like, man, it's too predictable. And it worries me going into like you said, when you go into the playoffs, you're going to be playing against Rodgers and Brady and these guys that – if you think you made Tyler Heineke look like that, I think he had one incompletion in the first quarter. And I'm like, this guy's killing these guys. You get into a game against Tom Brady, and he's going to recognize that kind of scheme. There's no disguising. They're soft in their coverages, like you've been saying here. I mean, are they a threat, you think, really in the playoffs? Because they're going to be taking on far better quarterbacks than they have over the last 2 months.
Tampa used to play a real good zone,
Monty Kiffin's zone.
Yeah, Monty Kiffin's
zone. The Tampa 2.
Yeah, that Tampa 2. But they played a kind of a man in the zone. While that guy's in your area, you cannot let them complete that. So you got to jump all over that guy. And the other thing is you got to jam people. You can't let them just release. Yeah. You got to jam because just a split second of a delay is huge because the quarterback gets sacked or he gets hit or he's getting pressured rather than he's just standing there throwing the ball with no pressure on him. So you can't let guys just release. You got to be jamming guys. And that's what they did a great job of with that old Tampa 2, because I knew it because we played some of it at USC. We played that. We didn't let guys release. We're not letting you release, just run into – no, because we know we got our line. We want to give our line a couple seconds to get there on you. We got to delay these releases, and the Eagles have got to learn that. But right now, I think they got to play man-to-man. They just do not play zone well, and if they do that, it's going to be like it was early in the season where you had every quarterback was playing like he was headed to the Hall of Fame. Every quarterback they played, the guy was complete 80, 90% of the passes. You can't have that. They have not taught that well. And the guys, nobody's delaying the releases, and they just got to improve on that. But, I still got to single out that they made the adjustments, like Gannon made the adjustment with going to a lot of that 5-man defensive front, and it's really changed the pressure. They've been able to get to the quarterback when they want to. They get in that 5-man. So they do that.
Gary, don't you think they've been better against the run since they moved to that front too? They've been better against the run.
You hit it. It definitely. You're really able. They do a great job against the run with that 5-man front, and so I got to give them credit for that. That was a good adjustment. But they cannot come out though and spot people by just playing zone in the first half and giving the other team, easy completions. They're going to have to play tighter, when they start out. But offensively, I still see the running game. They still got that running game there. The running back's a little banged up, but Boston Scott did a great job. Those fourth down touchdowns, man, there's a difference in the game. But somebody's doing something well, because the Eagles, they definitely have had good things turned their way. Because I think if Antonio Gibson had played in that game, they would have been in trouble.
Yeah.
Because if Washington was able to run the ball more, I don't know if they would have been able to come back. But somebody's doing something right, because it seems like COVID is an Eagles fan.
Absolutely.
Because look at I think they had done some things right, but they haven't been hit by COVID. But COVID has been hitting everybody else. You didn't have Antonio Gibson. They missed other players. They had the other time they played Washington. You had
Gary. It's being reported that over 10 Eagles today have hit the COVID list.
That over 10 Eagles?
Yeah.
Well, see, it's good timing. They wrapped up the.
Yeah, but most of these guys are vaccinated, so it looks like they're going to go through that new protocol now, where it's only going to be 3 days instead of 10 days, and it looks like they're still going to get an opportunity at playing. Hey, what is Dallas? What is Dallas? Okay, the Dallas team that they saw. I mean, the Eagle team that they saw Dallas on that Monday night a couple months ago, to where they are today. Dallas is in for a shocker, isn't it? Because this is a completely different football team, isn't it?
This is a completely different team. I think the Eagles should play a lot of their guys. They should let them play in this game. They need to be sharp, and I think that they're going to jump on Dallas. They're going to try to run the ball on Dallas. I think they're going to get in that 5-man front and give them some pressure from being able to run. They'll do a good job against the Dallas running game, and they'll get some pressure on Dak. So it's going to be some fun game, and both teams will get a chance to see where they're at right now. And even though it's amazing with Dallas how much they changed after just destroying Washington, and then struggling so much yesterday, to let that game get away. But it's going to be interesting, and I think the Eagles could surprise somebody in the first round. Whoever they get, they could surprise somebody. So. Whoever they play,
Gary, I'd like the Rams. I'd like to have the Rams, because
that would be interesting.
I don't think they could stop the run.
Yeah. And the Rams got a lot of pressure on them too. A team like that comes in tight because they know a lot of people, hey, this is either if they don't get it done, man, they're going to get cooked out there in LA. Because hey, we went out, we got all these guys, and we still don't win anything. That's not going to go well out there, So it will be a lot of pressure on them if the Eagles get them, But whoever they play, of course, they're going to go in as the underdog. And so they just got to play their game. And if they play their game where they get that running game going, that clock is ticking. Let's say they get a lead. The clock is ticking. The team that's the favorite got a lot of pressure on you, boy. When you're in a situation like that and they're running that ball down your throat.
You know what that is? That's a sphincter muscle. It starts tightening it up.
That's right. That's right. You better believe it. It starts at that sphincter. I've heard of that. I know about that sphincter. Yeah, it starts tightening up, boy. And that's what'll happen if they can, just play their game. Come in, play, get that running game going, and you get that clock ticking. And you got a lead on somebody that's supposed to be beating you, boy. Folks' hands start getting sweaty. The ball starts getting, slippery.
People start bitching at one another.
That's right. Guys start going at each other. And that's what happens. But because these teams got pressure on them. Nobody. But the Rams are a team, boy. There's going to be a lot expected out them. And I can see where they're already sweating. They're already a little tight. Because they know what's expected of them. And, everybody's been talking about them all year. They went out, they got this sharp young coach. They went out, they get Stafford in there, and they go out and they add these other guys. Come on. they're saying this is an all-star team. Well, they're going to be a lot of pressure on them. And teams that are not used to playing in that, because they don't have a Brady on their team who's been through it a bunch of times, who keeps everybody relaxed. Stafford is not in that situation. He hasn't been there all those times. So you can see they're tight because they feel the pressure. And I think the Eagles get one of these teams in that situation. They could shock somebody in that first round. That would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And I left Jalen for last year. I mean, you start the year 2-5. There's almost a quality about this guy, Gary, that he just refuses to lose. If I told you at the beginning of the year that Jalen Hurts would be a Pro Bowl alternate, probably going to the game, and he would put his team in the playoffs, and you have 3 first-round draft choices going into the April draft this year. I mean, if you're Howie Roseman, you've got to be sitting here looking over at your owner going, I told you so.
Yeah.
Do you not agree?
No doubt about it. I mean, a lot of people second guess him and them drafting him in the second round. And you look at the game yesterday, that big play that he made on the 4th down when one of the guys steps on his foot, he doesn't panic. Boom. He goes ahead. He's still able to get the ball to Boston Scott. They score on the play. He was able to scramble on the throw that he made to Greg Ward down there by the goal line. No panic. And that's what you want to see out of your quarterback, despite the fact that they were leading and they needed to make, they desperately needed to make it happen. And he was able to help them make it happen. And, after you do this numerous times, you start realizing it's not a coincidence that certain people make plays, certain people don't. It's not a coincidence. And so the kid has got he's got leadership quality. That's what he has. And you can't really time that when they go run the 40 and stuff. But one guy's got it, one guy doesn't. So one guy wins, he always winds up being on a winning team. He's always around a winning team. Because they very easily could have gone in the tank this year. And you see Washington went in the tank. They started having problems. They're done, But the Eagles have survived despite all the things they've been through, this rocky road. And they come out flourishing. And they found ways to win so many close games that after a while you realize it's not a coincidence that one team finds a way to win a close game, another team loses it.
Hey, Garrett, I'd be remiss if I didn't end here with this one. Antonio Brown, I don't know if I have in my entire life ever seen anything happen like it happened in the Meadowlands where a guy does what he did, took his jersey off. You and me, I think, will look at it maybe differently than every media turd will, because I look at it like this. Man, when you throw that opportunity away and you throw a career like that away, that's just not a guy being quirky or weird. There's something really wrong with this guy. There's something wrong
there, yeah.
And this guy needs help here, right? I mean, Gary, I look at it like, look, I'm not feeling sorry, but you know what, man? That's one of those stories, folks, that looks like it's not going to end well here because there's something wrong here. Your take on it.
Yeah, I heard, what Tony Dungy had to say about it, and I think he hit it on the head, which is, look, we can tell this guy's he's not all there, man.
Yeah, man.
He needs to go get some help.
Yeah.
Because he just went away. I mean, he basically burnt up in front of everybody. He burned $1 million. He just burned it up because he had these incentives.
Yeah, get this. Hey, Gary, he was 5 yards away from 333. He was 1 catch away from 333.
Yep.
And he was like 57 yards away from another. He basically, in that whole entire thing, could have made $1 million in that game.
$1 million.
And he burned it in a trash can.
Burnt right there in front of us. Come on. Anybody in their right mind doesn't do that. And I know he's got family. He's got kids, he's done things before. The guy needs to go get some treatment, because that is just not, you just don't see that. And you saw the guys, his teammates, trying to talk him out of it. They saw he was self-destructing. They tried to talk him out of it, and they couldn't because he got to a certain point. And, when you play ball, there are tremendous ups and downs emotionally. You You know, and I know, like a tough loss, man, you are down. You come out after the game. First, you're drained emotionally, you're drained physically. You come out after a game and you gave it all you got, but you came up short. You lost the game. The whole night, you got all's going through you, everything you did wrong. You could have done this, you could have done that.
And then you watch it on film on Monday, too.
Then you watch it on film, get your butt chewed out.
Yeah. Hey,
you know,
get beat up.
Go in there. You go through that, and that's a tremendous downer. So you do go through ups and downs, tremendous ups and downs as a football player. But to see a guy just totally lose it, where he's taking off his shoulder pads, come on. He needs to get some help. And Tony Dungy said it. Nobody else should sign him until he agrees to go get some psychiatric help. He needs to go talk to him and, you know, and let the professionals do their job. But to see him self-destruct like that, you know, I mean, because, you know.
You think he's finished, Gary?
Chances are, chances are.
It's the NFL now, Gary.
Hey, somebody get the heat on them. They're looking for players. They'll give him another shot. Somebody will. Because you'll get coaches where they're going like, we need somebody that can get open. Do you know anybody that can get open and catch the ball? Well, they go, well, Antonio Brown's out there. They're going there, but he's got, you know, you know he's unpredictable. Well,
yeah, but
we
Gary,
would rather
watch
have
this. But watch this. Yeah,
these
watch
guys
this.
can't get open.
Hey, you know what you could always do for a guy like that? You could always go like this. Yeah, but he's crazy. You go, yeah, but we can get him for league minimum. Really?
Hey, you just said it. League minimum. And see, he's doing this to himself, which is so crazy. How much money would he have made if he hadn't done all this stuff? I mean,
$50 million.
Yeah, you're right. He's burned about $50 million.
Yeah. I
mean, it's just crazy. And so that, I mean, just because of that, you know, he needs to go get some help because he's not all there. Because you don't see people anybody you see burning that kind of money, you say, you know what? You need to go get some help.
Absolutely. Hey, brother, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. Who would have thought 2-5 to 7-2 over the last 9 ball games? This football team's now
quite a year. It's been quite a year. And it's not over yet.
Hey, man, like I said, hey, Dallas this weekend, I think they're going to be in for a tougher game than they think. Because I'll tell you what, Dak ain't played well in the last 8 weeks.
He hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's really been struggling, and you know, a lot of things with rhythm, and he just hasn't been in the groove that he was in earlier in the year. Just not the same accuracy. You just don't see it. The timing is not there. So we'll see. We will see. It's going to be interesting.
That's for dang sure. Gary, thank you, my friend.
All right. Have a good one.
You got it, man. That's my friend Garry Cobb from Fox 29. Yeah, man, that dude needs help. We'll talk more about that in hour number 2. But, man, this is going to be about matchups. I would totally love the Rams